All right, we go on with the talk on the Kanika Samadhi, momentary concentration. So Monday we were talking about the nature of the fixed concentration in a samatha, and also the mastery of it, and the expansion of the nimitta, so that you will see which rebirth in the Brahma planes that will going to take place. Some of these things as a knowledge. So on this Kanika Samadhi, the day I mentioned that in the Kanika Samadhi, then there will be, the first one is the preliminary concentration. Then the second one, you have the Kanika Samadhi. Then the third one, you have the fixed concentration or Appana Samadhi. Now the Kanika Samadhi here, or momentary concentration, then they are equivalent to excess concentration in the samatha practice. It's just a different name. Because of the how we take the object between samatha or vipassana and vipassana. So because of they are taking the object differently, so they give the name. One is Kanika and one is samatha. So if you are more of a vipassana meditator, then you will hear a lot of this momentary concentration. But as I said, sometime 1 or 2 talks ago, or some time ago, or even every now and then, I mentioned that this Kanika Samadhi, you don't have to be too concerned about it, especially when you are in the beginning of the practice. What is more important is the mindfulness, and another factor, which is the wisdom factor. So we'll talk about the wisdom factor later, another time. But in the beginning part, this Kanika Samadhi, they are not so obvious to the yogis. This Kanika Samadhi will be more obvious when you begin to develop further into the insight. Then you will see that this Kanika Samadhi plays in a sense of quite important role. We're going to look into it also afterwards. So let's see. So the day we talk about this, preliminary concentration, momentary concentration, and fixed concentration. In a way, fixed concentration, we have talked about it when we talk about the third stage of the third noble truth. When we talk about the third noble truth, we talk about that fixed concentration in the sense of path and fruition, and also, of course, on Monday too, we talk about it a little bit. So tonight we are more focusing on this Kanika Samadhi. The first one is that preliminary concentration, is that when you are totally a beginner. And when you are totally a beginner, then you have hard to meditate, your objects are not clear, nothing is clear for you, So that one is more of a preliminary concentration. Momentary concentration starts off with, especially with the first insight, when you begin to notice the characteristic of a non-self. The nature of non-self, then the first insight arises, then momentary concentration also is there. But you can't see those momentary concentration functioning. Anyway, I mentioned that this momentary concentration, according to Mahasi Sayadaw, it can still further develop can still further divide it into the three parts: basic, intermediate, and advanced. Basic is the first to the third insight. Immediate is at the fourth insight, and the advanced is the fifth to the 13th insight. Now, in the commentary, when they give this momentary concentration, they give this word. Momentary concentration, momentary unification of mind means the concentration of mind lasting only for a moment. For that type of concentration too, when it occurs interruptedly with its respective object in a single mode and is not overcome by opposition, fixes the mind immovably, as if in concentration, as if in absorption. The commentary here, Visuddhimagga is already commenting on the various parts of the sutta and also Abhidhamma and also Vinaya also. And then now you have a commentary commenting on the Visuddhimagga. So, momentary unification of mind. Now, the characteristic of a concentration, whether you are fixed concentration or whether you are Kanika Samadhi or whether you have Upachara Samadhi or excess concentration or whether you have preliminary concentration, all nature of concentration has the unification of mind. It unites the associate mental state to function on a certain particular object. So momentary unification of mind, that means that the nature of the concentration is momentary. In the beginning part, you will not see the momentary. As I said, you will see the momentariness only when you begin to develop into fourth insight or fifth, and also the fifth insight and further. When you see that actually the changes of the object, the impermanence of the object, then you see the momentariness of the concentration also. So momentary unification of mind, concentration of mind lasting only for a moment. For that type of concentration, when it occurs interruptedly with its respected in a single mode, it's not overcome by opposition. All right, let us define this thing a little bit more. Forget about the words just now over there. Then let us see for more easier for us to understand. Just now that one is a bit more wordy, and some of you may not even understand what you are reading also. Now, in momentary concentration, we use it. It's a nature of concentration that we use it with our vipassana object. It's still concentration, as I said. They are still concentration. The nature of the concentration that is the same. Now, to understand a momentary concentration, let us take an example of walking meditation. Or even you can have a sitting meditation with the rising and falling, or with the in-breath, out-breath. Let us take a walking meditation. Now, in a walking meditation, you are taught right step, left step, and then there's the first phase, and then we have a second phase of lifting, dropping. Then you have a third phase of lifting, pushing, dropping, and then when you have this first phase, second phase, third phase, you gradually slow down. You gradually slow down. Gradually you pay attention to it more thoroughly, more precisely to your object of your meditation, which you are supposed to do in this way. And then when you have this first phase, second phase, third phase, first phase, second phase, or third phase, then let us look at the third phase. when it comes to the third phase, there's a lifting, there's a pushing, and there's a dropping, right? And you label them usually when you walk, the walking meditation in the beginning part, and it's good for you to label them because it directs the mind there. So therefore, there's a lifting, there's a pushing, and then there's a dropping. When your mind is in a way quite clear, even you don't have the first insight, when your mind is quite clear, then you put your attention onto the lifting process. So you label the lifting, and the whole leg, it's going up. Okay? And it slowly is going up. During this time, with the respective to that object of lifting, then your mindfulness is working upon that lifting. Okay? Your effort also is working upon that lifting, because this time the effort, when it's functioning, it is making the mindfulness to become active. It's making the vitakka, that means you direct the mind towards the object, also it's there. When you also during this time, you pay more closer attention, then the time the perception also is there. A clear perception is there. So during this time, your mind is in the present. Also, that means the mindfulness also is there. Then at the same time, while you're lifting, you're able to scrutinize, you're able to see the nature of how the lifting process is taking place, how the movement of the process is taking place. Sometimes it may take a bit longer, sometimes a bit tighter, So in a single object of a lifting, your mind is already, the whole attention, it's already there. That means during this time, the concentration, it's holding together, it's uniting together all these different components of the mind. It unite them together, the different components of the mind, onto the lifting process. Then after that, when you go into the pushing, so the lifting is one object, the pushing is another object. So when you go into the pushing, your previous concentration, the wisdom factor, the vitakka, the vichara also, and also those mindfulness, they are already gone. Now they are already gone. And then there is a new set of the noting mind that reaches onto that pushing right now. So the new set of noting mind, it also at this time has its mindfulness, has its effort, has its vitakka, vichara, has the wisdom factor, and so on. So the associate mental states, or the whole noting mind itself, it's noting or seeing at that pushing process. And then you can able to know what is the pushing process is like. It's moving, it's a bit slightly fast or slightly slow. Then you're able to notice it. Then the same process also, when your lifting already disappear, then your dropping takes place. When your dropping takes place, again, a new set of noting mind, which consists of concentration, consists of this and that, and is functioning upon that dropping. So on the pushing one is already gone. So here, momentary in that sense of, then there's one object, one set of a noting mind is happening at that object. Then after that, when you go on to the next set, which is the pushing, then the whole new set of the noting mind is taking place. Then after that, when you notice the dropping aspect, then again, it's the same thing. The whole new set is taking place. So in this rough sense, in this general sense, we begin to understand that momentary is that one object, and then after another object, but after another object. Okay, this is theoretically we are speaking now. Although it's happening truly, when you are doing it, but in the beginning part of your meditation, you will not see this thing like one set. You will not see it yet because it's not clear to you. The mind is not clear to you. Only what is clear to you, especially when you are a vipassana meditator, if you are not a samatha and then come to vipassana, if you are just a vipassana meditator, all that is clear to you is the movement of the feet. And even right now, the movement of the feet also as if like one lifting, one pushing, one dropping. What's the big deal, So as I said, in the beginning part, you will not see all these things. So if you try to compare with the beginning part and just now what I've said, you will not able to notice it. You will come to a frustration, because you weren't able to see it. As I said, this state of mind that are clear, you will come in when you come in at a deeper level of insight. So in the beginning part, you will not see it yet. So here it means the momentary concentration. So we come back to that lifting, pushing, dropping again. So there's one set, then there's another set, and there's another set. So after that, when you go into the next feet that is going through, then again, when it starts to move again, then the whole noting mind is noting there. And then if you have to push again, noting mind is noticing there. Now, sometimes yogi knows that when you are in the flow of the walking, when you're in the flow of the walking during this time, you find that for a short period of time, maybe 10 minutes, 5 minutes, or 2 or 3 minutes, when you're in the flow of the walking is going well, you find that at that moment of time, there's not much of a thinking mind coming in or distraction mind coming in. You find that there's not much. Then you find that, oh yeah, I can able to do this walking meditation quite clearly, right now, and you feel good about yourself, and it's wonderful, and it's good because that gives you some degree of confidence that's connected with your practice. Wonderful. The concentration here that you are the streaming, the flow that you are going through right now, and you feel good at that moment of time, you will find that your mind is not distracted to all kinds of external objects. Let's say, for example, there are some yogis meditating there. There are some object is in front of you, or some sound beside you, and so on. You're not distracted by all those things. Your mind is in a way concentrated onto the lifting, pushing, dropping. That is what it meant by it's not overcome by its opposition. After this, we will share the screen again. It's not overcome by this opposition. So here, as you go further into the practice, into the vipassana, and then therefore there will be more changes that you were able to notice, and therefore each changes that you notice is a set of a noting mind. Let's say we go back to the walking example again. Now, in the lifting, pushing, dropping, now this time, for example, in the lifting process, as you lift up this process, this time when we are more skillful in the walking. In the lifting process, you begin to able to notice a number of, let's say 3 or 4 sensation, or 3 or 4 object that you can able to notice this time. Say this time when you lift up the motion, as the motion arises, then you notice the motion. Yeah? And then while you're noticing the motion, this time also the tension that's happening also is quite clear to you. And the tension is happening is quite clear to you. Then also you notice the tension also. And then after that, while you're noticing the tension also and the movement, you also may notice some sensation or some pressure in the toe area, let's say. You notice in the toe area. Now, here there's a movement, there's a tension, and there's a pressure. It's happening in a one movement. So therefore, that one object of what you are noticing right now is begin to further divide into 3 objects. Each and every object that you're noticing through, that means whether it's one movement, a tension, and a pressure, each one of them has got its a single set of noting mind. That is to say, while you're lifting, where the motion going up, there's a one noting mind that is noticing it. One set of noting mind is noticing it. Then when you notice that tension again, then you also notice the the whole set of a noting mind that's going through. Then when you notice that pressure at the toes there, then again there's one set of noting mind that is going through, that you are noticing, and therefore it already divide into 3 parts already right now. You begin to divide into 3 parts, even with the so-called single process of lifting. So there's a 3 set of noticing right now, and again here you will notice the physical object more clearly. That mental object may not be so clear yet, but it's already happening. All this mental noticing is not clear to the yogis yet, but you're already able to differentiate the lifting quite clearly, and it's very good. And that is how you're supposed to do your vipassana meditation. And begin to notice things that is happening, and then therefore when it comes to the pushing again, then you notice 2 or 3 characteristic, or 2 or 3 pressure or movement. Then again, there's 2 or 3 noticing mind is happening there. So when it comes to the dropping, also the same thing. Then you notice 2 or 3 object that happening in the dropping. So the whole noting in the walking meditation, you may notice, let's say, 3 in the lifting, 3 object in the pushing, and then 3 object in the dropping. Already you are noticing 9 objects already. Already noticing 9 objects within a single lifting, pushing, dropping. So that is what we meant by momentary concentration. It goes finer and finer. Then, let's say, if you go into the further development, you're going to the further development, then the changes within, let's say, in the motion or in the pressure itself, you begin to see that the pressure, say in this time in the lifting part again, that pressure, you begin to notice there are more sensation or more difference in the pressure. That small little pressure that you notice, you begin to notice there are more things inside there. Then when you notice that different things in that pressure, then again there's a different set of noticing mind is happening there. So within that pressure itself, you begin to notice 3 or 4 things more. Then here you begin to see the changes of the pressure become more obvious. That time, when it become more obvious, the mind also become more clearer for you to notice. At that time, you can see how the mind is changing together with the object that is changing. So that time you will notice that how the chitta right now is changing right now. So you begin to understand. That time you begin to see for yourself the momentariness of that concentration. You see the momentary concentration. So here, as you go into further and further into the meditation, when you actually see the anicca, when you see the anicca means when immediately it arises, immediately it passes away. All the arising, passing away, arising and passing away. That each single arising, it's a single set of a noting mind. Then when it falls, also a noting mind. When it arises again, a noting mind. It falls again, a noting mind. Oh, sorry. How do you phrase that? Put it easier. Let's say you see one arising and passing away, one noting mind. You see again one arising and passing away, one noting mind. Again, seeing one arising and passing away, you see one noting mind. So other words, maybe within a second, maybe you see about 3 or 4 noting mind, 3 or 4 changes is happening with the object. Then also that time when you notice the mind too, there are 3 or 4 changes of the chitta or the concentration at that moment of time. So you begin to see the momentariness of the chitta and also the concentration, and also you see perhaps the rupa here. Then you see that the rupa also arising and passing away in that sense. So everything will go into, as you go into deeper and deeper, then you will see the momentariness so deep. When you say momentary concentration, is very, it's really moment to moment. That means within a second or less than a second that you may able to notice them. But then sometimes the theory of the mind, sometimes they say that within the blink of an eye, there are millions of thoughts already passing through, millions of chittas already passing through. Do we need to see all those things? We don't need to see millions of chitta or all these things go through. What we see, what is important for vipassana meditator is to see the impermanence. That means even you see within a second a few things that is arising and passing away, and if the impermanence is impacting you, that means you can able to move forward already. If you can see this arising and passing away and still doesn't impact you so strong, that means you have to see it again and again and again and again and again and again and again until it really impact you deeply. So if you can able, just like people like like Sariputta or Moggallana or those people who are very quick-witted, very sharp, they see a little bit all those things. They're already enlightened already, first stage, second stage already, and so on. Very fast, it just pass through, very fast for them. So for us, we see this one not enough. We've got to repeat again and repeat again, repeat again, repeat again, repeat. But then it gets stronger. Because of repetition, it gets stronger. So therefore, you see, if you are a meditator, if you are a vipassana meditator, when you are noticing from one object to another object, when object is changing from one object to another object, even like from within your rising and falling, you change it to your sitting, touching, to your pain, and so on, you will see that the mind having the same strength, same intensity that concentration is having the same intensity from the first object to the next object to the next object to the next object. So therefore, that is called, let me share back to you again now. That is called the single mode. Yeah. The meaning of the single mode, it means that the concentration have the strength from one moment of concentration to the next moment of concentration to the next moment of concentration. They share the same strength until, of course, defilements later coming in or hindrances later coming in. But if you are at the time when your mind is at optimum level, then you see that time your mind is able to note from one object to another object. Then you can note the changes that's happening through. As I said, when the changes is happening, the noting mind just follow from one changes to another changes to another changes. So, in other words, the strength of the concentration is carried forward to the next concentration, it carry forward to the next concentration, it carry forward to the next concentration. That is what it called by a single mode. A single mode. Yeah. That's what you all been doing, isn't it? It's just that the words is a bit difficult and that you all know. For those people who have practiced a bit longer, even in the Vipassana, without taking any samatha meditation at all, you will see that it is also not overcome by opposition. Not overcome by opposition, that means that you can sit there for 1 hour, and 1 hour you are not affected by any of the 5 hindrances. That means the flow of the momentary concentration is so strong that those thoughts and sleepiness and whatnot, it doesn't come in and disturb at all. So there are yogis can able to do that. Not to say many, but there are yogis can develop quite far, and they can able to see that those things they are not overcome by this one. And then when it fixes the mind immovably, that means you can able, not immovably doesn't mean that it doesn't change object, It's not just a single one object like samatha object. Here immovably, it means that the mind does not go out into other things except on the object of the 4 satipatthana. That means it can able to move from any object of the 4 satipatthana, and it doesn't go out into conceptual object and so on. And it doesn't get distracted by it, as if like in absorption. So as if like in absorption also, then you see that the mind is like really fixed upon all these satipatthana objects. That means you can able to notice how it changes, what is really going on. The mind is fixed there. So recently also, I talk about Vipassana jhana also. When I talk about Vipassana jhana also, that time, as you go into a deeper level of insight, now, although they are all Kanika Samadhi, but the Kanika Samadhi also is connected with this Vittaka, Vichara, Piti, Sukha, Ekagata, the 5 factors of a jhana, which are initial application, a sustained application, rapture, pleasant feelings or bliss, and then the 5th one is the concentration. So as you go into the deeper level of insight, then the concentration becomes more clearer, stronger. You see things changing at that moment of time, and also as you notice that, usually the yogis will notice it. You will begin to notice that all these mental factors begin to reduce. All the jhana factors begin to reduce as you go higher into the development. Just like a fixed concentration, which connected with the jhana. So within the insight also, so that there, as I mentioned, that those factors are reduced as you go higher into the insight. But the concentration begins to become more stronger, more balanced, more clearer. So this is generally what it meant by that momentary concentration. Now, until here, if some of you still mong cha cha, still don't know what I'm talking about, I put it as simple as I can really. And if you still cannot understand, well, it's still okay. Not a problem. Not a problem in the sense that if you still at least you understand Kanika Samadhi connected to Vipassana. How it works, I'm not very sure. Okay, no problem. But then you must actually know how to practice. When you meditate that time, as I said, hey, rising, falling, you watch. If it's not clear already, what you're supposed to do, and then you go to the next object which is more clearer, and then you can try to notice the next object more clearer. Then, if the pain is more clearer, then you try to note the pain. How the pain is like? How does it change? Does it become more, become less? Then you notice this. Then after that, if the itchiness arises, then you notice the itchiness. If the itchiness after that disappear, you go back to the rising and falling. If you can know like that, okay already, also okay. As long as you follow the proper instructions, especially, if you follow the proper instruction, then as I said some time ago, or just now earlier on in the talk, I mentioned that as long as you have mindfulness, then that concentration by default, it will come together with the object. It will, with the practice. It will come together with the object or with the practice. So you don't have to worry about that momentary concentration in the beginning of the practice. All you need to do is make sure that, are you mindful? Are you in the present? Your mind is not distracted. Come back to the present. Notice the present object again and again and again and again. So by default, in the background, the momentary concentration or the concentration is going together with that mindfulness. The stronger the mindfulness becomes, the more that you can keep your mind with the present to the object. That means the momentary concentration also is prolonged together with this one. So as I said, you don't have to be worried too much about the momentary concentration. Now, this momentary concentration, sometimes, at one time recently, not too long ago, I read in the Facebook, some Ajahn was like answering some questions on Kanika Samadhi. But today I tried to go and look for it. I think they already removed that particular those posts already. So at one time I read about it, and then they talk about this Kanika Samadhi, this momentary concentration. They says that this Kanika Samadhi is not strong concentration. It's not a good concentration. You want to practice, you have to practice with the excess concentration of a samatha concentration. Then it shows that here it shows that there are a lot of people out there. We also of other occasions also, a lot of people out there they disregard this momentary concentration. When you don't have momentary concentration or any concentration, you cannot do this vipassana practice. You cannot do this vipassana practice. The nature of this samatha concentration or excess concentration Excess concentration is that it fixed into a one object. It's not like a satipatthana. It moves around satipatthana object or the four satipatthana objects. Whereas samatha, it only one object. And one object usually is a conceptual object. When it's a conceptual object, you cannot see anicca, dukkha, anatta. Because conceptual object, they do not have those things. It's created by the mind. It is not real. Yeah? It is created by the mind. But of course, although it's not real, the mind can still develop. Not to say cannot develop. Mindfulness can develop too. Concentration can develop. Certain degree of wisdom also can develop. But they won't get you out of samsara. Yeah? In the vipassana, in the satipatthana vipassana, then you have to apply that momentariness of the noticing, that kanika samadhi. Then only with the kanika samadhi you can able to see the insight, or you are supportive of the noting mind. You are supportive of the noting mind. Without kanika samadhi, you cannot. So don't underestimate this kanika samadhi. This kanika samadhi, it's part of the right concentration. It's part of the right concentration. So sometimes people disregard this kanika samadhi. It says that if you are only practicing this vipassana meditation alone, then all your insight is all wrong. You must you must do the samatha meditation first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, then only you can do vipassana meditation. This is one I have read before, The next one also I have read, also very, very charismatic teachers and very charismatic monk and so on. Then they also mentioned that they also mentioned that no need vipassana meditation. No need vipassana meditation. All you need to do is samatha meditation. You do first samatha meditation, the first jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, fifth jhana, sixth jhana, seventh jhana, eighth jhana. Once you come out from the eighth jhana, then you're already anagami or arahant already. Like a lotus open up with 1,000 petals, in that sense, Then there's no anicca, dukkha, anatta. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. Zero. Everything is just samatha meditation, then disregard this satipatthana, disregard all this anicca, dukkha, anatta. Of course, disregard the nature of the concentration too. Then it's all enlightenment already. And these are people who can able to influence you. They are monks. They are in the monk's robe. They are the nuns in the nun's robe. Then to you is that a lot of times we hear all these things must be right because they are monk, they are nuns, must be right. So that's the problem here and there. No need to practice that much. Now, the next thing I want to show you something also is connected with Vipassana also. Hopefully you all can read now. And let me go a bit bigger a little bit. Okay, let me read for you. The passage from Patisambhidamagga, the path of discrimination, reads. This is Patisambhidamagga is one of the books in the Tipitaka. Now, seeing physicality or rupa here as impermanent is insight. Seeing physicality as unsatisfactory and non-self is insight. At the moment of insight, the state of relinquishing external object or penetrating internal object or one-pointedness of that insight mind is concentration. Thus, insight come first and concentration come afterwards. And so one is to say to develop concentration based on insight. What it means here is that when you say, when you say insight come first, concentration come afterwards, afterwards means just one moment only, you know. It's not like afterwards, like some time later and so on, you know. Not like that. Of course, if you want to debate upon that, yes, also. But as I say, when you're able to notice the insight, concentration is also at the background. So here, what it means then is that, as I said, you don't have to worry too much about the concentration. What is important in the vipassana or in the satipatthana is that you have to be thorough in your noticing. You have to be precise in your noticing. If you notice things are precisely, clearly, then that concentration is happening at the background already. So many times I said that as a beginner of meditator, meditation is always be concerned about that mindfulness. When you have mindfulness, that's one thing. Then the second thing is that you have to be precise. Then we're going to talk about that maybe next week, which is important. So that wisdom factor, when that wisdom factor arises together with that mindfulness, then only then the wisdom the mindfulness becomes continuous. Now, during the talk on mindfulness, I said that there are two parts of the mindfulness. One is that arousing of that mindfulness. The second one is the sustaining of that mindfulness. The arousing of the mindfulness is that you must know how to arouse them. And because if you are in the beginning of the practice, that mindfulness is not strong. That means you cultivate a little bit, then after that, all kinds of hindrances, sleepiness, and everything coming in. That means it's not strong. Other words also, momentary concentration also not strong. By default, momentary concentration also is not strong. So when it comes to the mindfulness, when it's continuous, then when it's continuous, it also indicates that the concentration also is strong and continuous because of by default of connected with mindfulness. But the one that keeps mindfulness to be strong is that wisdom factor. This wisdom factor, or we're going to look at it as sampajanya, sati as sampajanya. And because of that sampajanya or that wisdom factor that it can able to penetrate, to discern, to discriminate the nama and rupa and all this pressure, movement, tension, just now that what I'm talking about. When you can able to notice them, that means that time the mindfulness and the concentration becomes continuous. This wisdom factor is something that you must know how to exercise them, because it is not by default it will come. Not by default. Concentration and mindfulness, they go together, but not that wisdom factor. Wisdom factor, you have to make an effort to arouse that wisdom factor in order for you to able to notice what is really going on. So only then your mindfulness and your concentration will become continuous. Will become continuous. So that wisdom factor is also another factor that is important for us to mention. And then with that wisdom factor, we have to go back to the right view and right intention. Earlier part, when we talk about the right view and right intention, that time, we talk about the karma. When you have all the understanding of karma, understanding of Four Noble Truth, 5 precepts, and so on, then you develop your sila in the sense of your precepts, in the sense of dana, in the sense of this one. Then after that, when you have certain confidence, you go into meditation. Then you go into the meditation. Now you want to develop some mindfulness, some concentration coming in, and then concentration coming in. Then after that, you will cycle back again to the right view again, because this time the right view is that noting mind, that sharp noting mind of yours, the right view and the right intention. And then it comes in as that sharp noticing. Then we have to go back to that again, because this is another level of right view. Then when you have that right view, then another level of right view and deeper level of right view is with the path and fruition right view. That one is another level of right view. When you begin to penetrate and you begin to see the anicca, dukkha, anatta, this is another level of right view. When you think about the Dhamma, when you do dana, that is another form of right view. So right view is in different areas. But we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that thing because that one is important. Now, here, the concentration. Here, the concentration, as I said, as you go deeper into it, into the insight, then the concentration also become clear, strong, continuous, and you could begin to be able to see the momentariness of it. But when we practice, this vipassana meditation, nothing is permanent. The mindfulness is not permanent also. Concentration also is not permanent. They fluctuate. Even if you are an advanced yogi also. Even the one that in the different level of Kanika Samadhi, you have a basic, you have advanced, you got intermediate, you got advanced. Even at the advanced level, still concentration sometimes can give you some problem. Especially when they becomes what we call the imbalanced state. Becomes too much or they become too little. Because they are, sometimes they are just impermanent. The condition comes in and we are not careful with it, and then this concentration overshoots or undershoot. When you practice, things are going well. You can see a lot of changes, everything going through clearly. That means everything is at optimum level. Your mindfulness is at optimum level. Your effort is at optimum level. Your concentration optimum level. Everything else is also optimum level. And which is good, which is wonderful. And you keep it as long as you can. That is perfect. That is where your insight will come in. But then sometimes, due to sometimes some yogis, they have a certain tendency of sometimes some yogis have a tendency to incline towards concentration. Some yogis incline towards effort. Some yogis incline towards penetration. Different yogis have slightly different inclination. Now, those yogis have a stronger inclination to this concentration. Then every now and then, when they practice, they step on that, as if like step on the accelerator of the concentration too much. Then it begin to overshoot. When it begin to overshoot, your object begin to blur. That means, or as if like the object begin to go far, far away. That means the anicca, dukkha, anatta, that whatever that they are noticing during that time is not clear, because this time the concentration becomes more than the mindfulness. It's running faster than the mindfulness. So when the concentration getting more than the mindfulness, that means it's going to exhibit, it's going to manifest its characteristic. And when it manifests its characteristic, that day we look at the characteristic of, one of the characteristic of concentration is manifestation. That means it comes in as peace. Things become peaceful. Things become unclear. Other words, peaceful is calm and so on. Then your object that is going on, whatever is happening, is not clear anymore because it becomes too much. When it's at optimum level, the peace here is at the background because at the foreground you are seeing the changes of the object. It could be pain. It could be pain, hard, soft, pulling tension, but your mind is not running away. Your mind is in a way peaceful at the present moment, although you are experiencing suffering at that moment. Yeah. So you are peaceful at the present moment. But when it becomes too much, then things become not clear. This one thing is that it's not clear, it's happening, but due to sometimes some yogis begin to incline on it, they like to stay on it strong and stay with it for a longer period of time. And then this strong concentration begins to tense up the body or the head, and sometimes it tense up until your mind, your noting mind is like fixed into one object. It doesn't want to move to other object. That you want to push it to another object, although another object become more obvious, more clearer, but the mind doesn't want to go there. It kind of like stuck there. It's stuck there, and then after a while it gets stronger and stronger. And then for some yogis, this state of too much concentration becomes their Achilles heel, their weakest point, because this time is going to break their meditation. So some people, that tension becomes migraine. That it becomes migraine. It becomes like instead you go back with more wisdom and more clarity, you go back with migraine after a retreat. Then when you go back with a migraine after a retreat, after a few times of you do like that, within the retreat, you give up, bye-bye to the vipassana already. Because every time you go back, it's all tension on it. Why? Because here, sometimes this type of yogis, they over-concentrate. They overdo the whole practice. Some yogis that you ask them to meditate, sit down only, their mind is like, they have a drill in front of them. Everything they want to drill through. In fact, that meditate already, see the rising and falling, they want to drill inside the rising, falling, drill, push. Cannot see already, change object. I don't want to change object. I want to sit there and want to see my rising and falling until it break, until it 爆炸, your 头爆炸 your head will burst first. Some people are just like that, because of their inclination. Because of their inclination, and they think that sometimes they think they are right. So this type of yogis tend to over push the whole concentration without much of mindfulness. Then on another level, on the other extreme, is that those who don't have much of concentration. Then those are not much of concentration. Then that is where, not to say much of concentration, they have a lot of not the right concentration. You cannot say. Also, don't say that they are wrong concentration. Sometimes those people who come to meditate, they've got a lot of faith in the meditation, or generally in Buddhism. Then they sit down, they meditate, rising, falling, in breath, out breath, whatever they are noticing. Then after that, they like to think about, that time I go for dana, that time I do my this one, I study my Abhidhamma, this is Abhidhamma, this sutta is this, and so on. They like to think about those objects more than what they want to do with the present object, because that thinking of those things are quite enticing. It entices you to go and think about it, to ponder over your previous Abhidhamma subject, or your dana that you have done, or your katina that you have done, whatever that you have done, wholesome. At least they don't think of unwholesome thoughts, which is in a way good, but the mind is keep on distracting to all those things. Just ask them to stay with the object of their meditation. Tak boleh, cannot, Bhante. My mind is I keep on running here, running there. How, Bhante? How? What do you think? I think of all these things, Is it still wholesome, isn't it? Bhante is still wholesome. Yes, it's wholesome. Cannot say it's not wholesome. It's still wholesome, but the thing is that you're not meditating. So there are a number of people are like that. They are more inclined into a lot of thinking, getting the mind get distracted into thoughts and so on. So when they stay with the meditation object in the satipatthana object, they cannot stay. A number of yogis that I've met also is like that. Not to say many, number of them. All these things are, all these people, whether you are this extreme or the other extreme, then all you need to do is proper training, proper guidance, and we must have faith. If not, if they are too attached to one thing, if they are attached to that peacefulness, if they don't have faith in you, you tell them to come out of it, they don't want, they still want to stuck inside there. Then you tell them, hey, the other extreme one, you think, hey, don't think so much of your books, don't think so much of your dana, never mind, let it go. But if they don't have faith in you, they are more inclined into all kinds of other form of practice and all kinds of everything, except meditation object. If they don't have faith in you, also they won't stay. They will on thinking and so on. I've seen a number of people are like that. In the development, this type of concentration, when sometimes is overdue, as if like sometimes you are going into a very sleep-like condition. The calmness is very peaceful, and this is over concentration. You become very peaceful, very nice, and then it's almost like sleep-like concentration, a sleep-like experience. As if like you come out from it, wow, you feel something wonderful. Just now, everything just shut down. But you don't realize that this is sometimes it's just over concentration, and it goes into a sleep-like experience. And then, if you are not careful, you may come out and think this is nibbana liao. This one jhana liao. Everything. So this over concentration, it can be a problem. If you do not know how to balance them. When it comes to another time, we'll look into it and just how to balance them. All you need to do for this one is a bit of more mindfulness, proper mindfulness. You make an effort to bring back the mindfulness. When the mindfulness is there, then things will become at the optimum level again. So that this one we'll talk again in the next week. Okay? So that's it for tonight in this on this Kanika Samadhi. Then next week we'll talk on the wisdom of sati and sampajanya. Okay, now the Friday we have what do you call that, Q&A session. Now in the Q&A session, now there's a new contact number in the chat area. So you have to take note. We changed the contact number already with the 012-503-7674. Okay, so if you have any question on the Dhamma, on the talk, then you can post it up, and then we'll try to answer you on Friday at 9. Okay, that's it for the night. We'll share merits.